We often don't realize that we are the key to our own happiness, and that happiness starts with healing and transformation. Whether you need healing, guidance, clarity, understanding, or just some honest sister talk to feel connected, heard, and supported, you are welcome and safe here. So join the conversation and be healed. Welcome to Soul Healing Conversations with your host, Roz Kincaid.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Soul Healing Conversations. For those of you who are new, I'm Roz Kincaid. I'm an intuitive soul healer. I help women of color step into their power and live a life of peace, with ease and balance, and without hiding or apologizing for it, because nobody wants to be doing that anymore, right? So today I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping, and then I'm going to finish up from last episode on anger. So what I have available for you if you're interested in working with me is first private coaching, and private coaching is on and popping right now. There are a lot of great things going on in private coaching. I'm working with clients who are working through relationship stuff, relationship dynamics with their parents, working through some trust issues. We're getting down on some anger, getting to the root of that. I'm even working with clients who are moms and just trying to reclaim their life and find balance with having children and being married or not married, and just finding that balance in life and just finding what it is that they want to be doing with their life, and just really getting underneath all of the superficial and surface issues that kind of keep them from being their best self or the highest version or the ideal version of themselves. So a lot of great things are happening right now in private coaching. And if you consider yourself a strong woman of color, but low-key minimizing the most real and best parts of yourself, but you also want to transform any kind of lack of self-acceptance and feelings of overwhelm from overgiving, because that's what we do, or you're struggling to hold boundaries into wanting to feel more peace and calm and just minding your own damn business and being more confident so that you can move forward beyond the pressures of life and not really having to feel like you have to live up to other people's standards, well, then guess what? Empowerment private coaching is exactly for you. I created this for you. I actually created it for me too, because I sometimes have to revisit this stuff. And so with this program, it's a 6-month one-on-one private coaching program. You get 18 private coaching sessions. I'm also going to be personalizing mindset and belief work and self-discovery practices for you, so it's a little bit more prescriptive and not broad. You also get voice and text message support from me between sessions, so I'm there with you even when we're not on camera or working together. You still have access to me between sessions within limits, because I do have to have boundaries. And then there are a few bonuses that I'm throwing in as well that include 2 1-hour Reiki sessions, energy healing sessions to help you manage and balance that energy. I'm also going to give you an intuitive reading at the end of the program, and I'm also building out a transformation toolkit that includes digital support and just products and tools like guided meditations or journaling prompts that you can access after the program is over. Let's see, the other thing I have for you, intuitive readings. Like, who doesn't like to get a reading and see what's down the road for 2023? So if that's you and you need some guidance, or even if you are interested in reaching out to a loved one who's passed on, an intuitive reading is where it's at. That's where all of that happens. Also, the Soul Expansion Soundboard. My co-host Julian Crossan Hill and I, we go live every other Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube and Facebook. Our next live stream is going to be March 24th, and we are going to be talking about, the topic is say what you mean. So being able to have hard conversations, being able to communicate clearly about what you need, being able to say what the truth is when it seems like it's not acceptable, but you're still carrying the burden of living a lie. So we're going to help you communicate better, because communication really is key. So check those out in the description, and I hope to work with you soon. So let's get into today's topic. I want to continue this conversation on anger. One is coming up for me, and when that happens, that's an indication from spirit that there's somebody else out there that needs to hear this. And so I want to fill in some gaps with identifying your anger through observation and giving you some guidance on managing your anger. And so if you haven't listened to or watched episode 53 yet, make sure you go back and catch it and get the full context of where I'm going with all of this, because there was some really good stuff in there that will kind of pull it all together. So last episode, I gave you a point about identifying your anger. So let's talk about first why we're even needing to identify our anger. And the reason is because when you are able to identify your anger, one, you are able to separate yourself from it just a little bit, just to put some distance between you, the soul, the person, and this emotion that you are feeling. And when you do that, when you become self-aware about your anger, you're able to get in front of it. You can control it and steer it and drive it and direct it a little bit healthier, right? You don't have to let it fester and sit in your body and not do anything about it. Like, that energy has to move, or it's going to take root and cause a whole slew of other issues. So I want to share with you this technique of observation when you are feeling angry. And you can really use this with any other emotion. So what you're going to do is you want to identify that feeling in your body. All of the work that we do is not in the mind, right? There's some work that we do around belief systems that start in the mind because a thought turns into a belief. But when we're feeling an emotion, that stuff is in the body first and foremost, right? And then it moves into other areas. So you want to identify what it is that you're feeling in the body and give it a name. In this case, we're calling it anger. And then what you want to do is just notice what's going on inside of you, as if you were another person watching yourself and you were running through what's happening. So for example, I'm getting pissed off. I don't know, the person in front of me cut me off, right? And I want to flip them off. So my jaw is tightening. I'm clenching the steering wheel. I'm pushing on the gas more, so I'm driving faster. I might feel my head get hot. So all you're doing is running through what's going on and what you're feeling in your body, as if you were talking to a doctor and saying, Doc, this is what's wrong with me. It's this, and this. This is what I'm experiencing. Pretty simple. And if you're in a place where you can write it down or voice note it, right? Describe how the anger feels hot and prickly, how it is consuming in your chest. Describe how you feel agitated. Describe how your stomach feels knotty. Describe all of what's going on in your body. Describe how, like, you might be clenching or gripping down on your feet. Describe the tension in your neck, all of it. Get a clear understanding of what changes are happening in your body. First step, because when you can acknowledge what's going on in your body, then you can get somewhere with it. So the next step is you are going to want to put some space between you and this emotion, like I said before. And how this works is you're pretty much going to use visualization and breath work for this. So you want to breathe. That's the first thing, because breathing brings us back into the present. It takes us out of the past, brings us back from the future, and it focuses us on breathing, which we can be doing now. We can't be breathing in the past, and we can't be breathing in the future and experience all of that at the same time. So now is where it's at, right? So you want to breathe, and you want to imagine that you are putting the anger on the outside of you so that you can look at it. So if you want to, inhale, and when you exhale, visualize that anger breathing out on your exhale. You're breathing it out of you, right? And do that round of breathing maybe 3-4 times, whatever feels complete for you. But blow it out of your body is what I'm trying to say. And then once you visualize it outside of your body, start to give it form. What color is it? What shape does it have? What size is it? How dense is it? Whatever the case, give it form, give it shape. And it might be, you know what I'm thinking? It puts me in the mind of that green blobby stuff from Ghostbusters. And I'm dating myself, but from Ghostbusters. It doesn't have a human form, but it has some kind of shape and it responds, right? So then what you want to do is you want to look at it. You want to watch it. You want to just observe it. Look at what it's doing. Is it growing? Is it shrinking? Is it just sitting there? Is it kind of like doing this blobby thing? Look at it for what it is. Check out what the energy or the frequency, tune into it. Is it mad energy? Is it hurt energy? Really? Is it high level pitch? Like some of y'all might be able to hear the pitch of it, especially if you're clairaudient. But look at it. Look at it for exactly what it is. And what I'm getting now is that some of you might look at this and start to see a younger version of yourself in this anger, in this form of anger. And then what you want to do is you just want to reflect on it. After you have gotten it outside of yourself, you've watched it, reflect on it. You might want to even have a conversation with it. We do this thing in private coaching called voice dialogue, where whatever you're feeling gets to have a voice and it literally gets to speak. You get to speak and source gets to speak. And a lot of times when we are able to allow our anger to be full on and come fully to the surface, it diffuses it and it turns the heat down on it a little bit, because really that's all it wants. It wants to be acknowledged. It wants to be seen and heard and held. And so when you take the time and do step number 5 and reflect on it, what is this about? Where is this coming from? Why is this triggering me so much? Start asking questions of it and allowing it to speak back to you in some way, shape, or form. Like it might, you ask it a question, it might move. Now again, this is going to take some visualization and some imaginative thought, right? But essentially what you're doing is you are observing yourself and describing your emotions and what's going on in your body, like I said, as if you were telling a doctor about your medical symptoms. And I'm talking about down to the letter of what it's doing and what it's saying. So start to get into practice of observing your anger. And not just, like I said, not just observation isn't just good for anger. It's good for all kinds of emotions. It's good for shame. It's good for fear, especially fear. It's good for hurt and pain and jealousy and whatever else you might be feeling, right? And to that point, let me remind you that most of the time, anger is the secondhand or substitute emotion, which means that sometimes people will default to anger, to being angry, or anger will be their go-to emotion so that they don't have to feel any pain or hurt. This whole people changing their feelings of pain into anger, we do that because it feels better to be angry than to feel that hurt. And what people don't understand is that when you don't allow yourself to deal with that hurt, to feel it momentarily, then you can't do anything about it, because this change in pain into anger, which is really denial and avoidance, can be done consciously or unconsciously, will become a barrier to you recognizing your own anger. And then it's going to get out of control. And we don't want that. We don't want to allow our anger to cause more harm to ourselves and the relationships that we actually want to be in than it already is. So you got to get in front of it. And observation is the way to do it. So let me share with you some ways, because I don't want to leave you hanging. I want to share with you some ways to express anger, because if you like me, you like to cuss and fuss when you get angry. But when people are witnessing that, especially, you know, loved ones, your spouse, your partner, if you have children, we tend to take that stuff personally and hold it as our own. So what we want to do is we got to find some healthier ways to deal with this anger. Things such as deep breathing, getting some physical exercise, sweating it out, or just seeking some support. And let me go into this a little deeper. So with any emotion, there's going to be a body and energy connection with it. And with anger specifically, when we experience it, our sympathetic nervous system, which is located right in the spinal cord, becomes nice and activated in response to what it thinks is danger or stress. And so when your body becomes activated by your sympathetic nervous system being activated, your body is doing things to think and act quickly. Your pupils become dilated. Your blood pressure might go up. Your digestive system is going to slow down to preserve itself, right? Your body is preparing to like move quick and do what it needs to do because it's sensing danger or threat or stress. But guess what else is located in alignment with your spinal cord? Your chakra system, your central energy system, which is your main chakra system, your root, your sacral, solar plexus, your heart, your throat, your third eye, and your crown. And so when your nervous system becomes activated, it is a very strong indication that your energy has been unbalanced for some time, because the body is responding to energy being off. So your energy has been off and unbalanced for some time, and now it's showing up in your body. So notice what your body is doing when you're mad. Remember before, somebody cuts you off, somebody, does something to you and you're offended and you get mad. Stuff's happening in your body and you have to notice what that is. Notice the vibration of your energy and what's going on around you in your daily life that might reflect low vibration energy that might be coursing through you and around you. We have to get into the practice of slowing down, getting quiet as you can get, because I know there's monkey mind and mind chatter going on, but getting still and focusing on the breathing and just tuning into the energy that is around you and that's within you. Understanding your energetic makeup, because you get what you give off. That energy emits and it comes right back to you. And so what you also can do is use tools like Reiki energy healing. I've talked about breath work. You can tap, go through the tapping prompts and scripts to help move that energy off of those acupressure points and start to self-regulate and calm yourself. See, a lot of this stuff seems new for us because we've been taught to just push through, to swallow it, to push it down, just to act like it doesn't happen. And then we end up, being triggered and going off and blowing up on people. So we have to learn new ways of self-soothing and self-regulating, because our system ain't made to be in fight, flight, or freeze mode all the time. That's why you see people getting ulcers and IBS and all kinds of stuff going on in their body, having high blood pressure, high cholesterol, stroke, all kinds of stuff. That stuff manifests in your body when it doesn't get the attention and it doesn't get moved the way it needs to. Another technique is journaling. Listen, I am not a huge journaler, but I will journal in my own way. I may record a voice note just to get it out of me. I may write it down on a Post-it, anything. But the act of writing is going to help you kind of have some self-awareness and understand what is really going on. It's another way for you to express truth. You don't always have to speak it, but if you can write stuff down and journal your thoughts or journal your prayers or write a letter or whatever it looks like for you, I'm telling you, it's going to help you. Try it. Try it for 3 days. Just journal. Just write. You can also be talking to a trusted friend or coach or therapist. Like, there's qualified people out here that are ready and willing and experienced to help you with, at least to be a sounding board and to give you another perspective of what could be going on and help you see there's a pothole ahead if you continue down this pathway. Also, I mentioned engaging in physical activity. Exercise can be particularly effective at releasing pent up anger and reducing stress. Do you know how good it feels? And I don't know how many of y'all do this, but you know how good it feels to lift up a heavy piece of weight and then slam it on the ground? I have a background as an athlete, so for years I used to do CrossFit, and that was very high intense where your full body was in it and it was high impact, and I sweated like a pig. But that also helped shift my energy, and it turned on hormones in me to make me feel better and to make me feel good and clear my mind. Even now that I'm not as active as I used to be, but even now just going outside for a walk and getting some fresh air up my nose and clearing the air and moving my hips and body and just opening up my shoulders, opening up my hips, just movement, just to move energy in my body. It helps just to reset things. So if nothing else, go for a walk. You ain't got to be out there all day long. And then too, word on the street is that these rage rooms that people have created, where you get to go smash shit and be in a rage and in a safe space, in a safe, controlled environment where you get to hurt shit in inanimate objects, but not hurt yourself or hurt somebody else. Listen, these are great for expressing anger and just blowing off steam. Be in there for however long you need to be, but Google it. Look up rage rooms in your area and find you one and get in there and bust a move, okay? In addition to managing your energy and managing your anger in healthy ways, we're going to have to learn how to start communicating anger in constructive ways as well. Like, it no longer serves us well to be angry or to be triggered and be mute about it. That's not helping anybody. And we have to learn how to communicate. You are no longer a child where you are being told where you have to stay in a child's place and don't say nothing, butt out. You are an adult and you have a voice, and it's time for you to start using it to advocate for yourself. So the first thing about communicating your anger constructively is let's neutralize this anger with observation. Get yourself in a space where you are neutral as possible, or at least where the anger isn't so high. The heat on the anger, like you ain't hot as fish grease. Let's come down from that. As much as you can, get neutral to where you are able to articulate. Gather your thoughts, gather your words, find it. I know that they're in there, because getting neutral first is going to help you be able to say what needs to be said. And speaking of which, speak your truth. That's the next thing. Speak your truth about your experience, not about what somebody else is experiencing, but talk about what happened, how you perceived it, and what that does to you. We have to really start opening up and communicating authentically and honestly about what is going on with us and what things mean to us. And then ask the other person, like, once you have expressed yourself and said what needs to be said, honestly, ask for some understanding of the other person's perspective, because there's always two sides to every story. There's two sides to every situation. And having the other person's perspective will give you full understanding of what is happening, of the dynamic, and why that person even thought to do what they did or didn't do what they needed to do that triggered you, that set you off. And then ask why. Have a conversation. We're not talking about arguing with nobody. We're not talking about pointing fingers or blaming. At this point, we got to get to a place where we're trying to understand people. Listen, do what you need to do. Take care of yourself. Step away. If you need for something to change in order to help you, or if the other person needs for you to be doing something differently to help them, say something. Like, seriously. No, nobody can read your mind. I mean, people can, but the average person can't read your mind. And so that means that we need to open up and state what our needs are and figure out a way to get them met. I'm not saying that you need to go look for somebody else to make you happy and to, do all of these things for you. You could be doing for yourself. Independence has its place, but there are also things that you need support with and resources that you might need to be able to do what you need to do and move on with your life. And nobody knows that unless you say something. So the last point I want to make here is forgiveness. Like, I know a lot of people have a hard time with this one, but listen, just do your best with it, okay? Because listen, forgiveness is not easy. I get that. I understand that. Like, not holding on to stuff that people have done to you and like letting that go. I know that stuff ain't easy. But forgiveness is often seen as a key component. It is a key component of healing past hurt, and it can be hard to extend it when you're angry and you're still wounded. But look at it this way. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning or excusing or making what somebody did to you okay. It wasn't okay, right? It was your experience. It wasn't okay. But instead, it's about releasing that resentment and that anger that we might be holding and releasing that when we're ready. Don't let nobody rush you through your forgiveness process. It's like somebody saying, hurry up and eat, or chewing before all the flavors gone out. Like, but I get it. Forgiveness is a difficult process and it takes time and effort to do it. But it is an important step in healing and moving forward, because you cannot carry that with you into the ideal version of you. Like, you can't embody the ideal version of you and still be holding on to the past. And this person might be dead and gone. So while they, over on back on the other side, you still on earth having to live out the rest of your life. And wouldn't it not be easier to do if you didn't hold on to stuff that is no longer happening? You don't have to keep re-experiencing and re-traumatizing yourself by reliving the past and holding on to stuff and not forgiving and not releasing. Is holding on to the past, and it's holding you up from becoming and embodying and living like your ideal self. So again, try to, I talked about understanding a minute ago, but to start the process of forgiveness, try to understand and see the other person that hurt you as another flawed human being, a real person, apart from who they represent in your life. Act like they some Joe off the street or somebody on TV, and you are curious about the inner workings of their being that drove them to do what they did to you or to somebody else. Because a lot of times when we start to see people as human and we see that, damn, they were acting out of hurt and pain too, and they inflicted that on me, it'll give way just for a little bit of compassion. It'll crack the door for you to say, damn, they went through some fucked up shit. I get it. It wasn't right. They didn't have to do it to me, but they was in a messed up situation too. And it'd be just a little bit easier for you to let that go. Not let go of them as they might have offended you or hurt you. But it'll help you to let go and take the edge off of that anger and help you loosen your grip on it so you can move on with your life. Don't you want to move on with your life? Okay, y'all, that's it. That's all I have for you today. I mean, get a hold of your anger. So listen, if you like this kind of content from me and you want more of it, then make sure you check out the links in the description and check out my blog, book a session, sign up for coaching, or join my email tribe where I'll be spilling all the tea. And I share deeper, insightful information in my email tribe that I don't typically share online. So make sure you go check all that out. And make sure you subscribe and share this episode with somebody. You never know. It might help somebody turn some things around. So put it out there to them. Somebody needed to hear this today other than you. So, all right, y'all. I'll see you next time. Bye. Hey, and thanks so much for hanging in there with me all the way to the end of the podcast. I hope you got lots of value from today's episode and feel more empowered and more inspired than you did before. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did doing it, then share it with somebody that might resonate with it. Also, I would really appreciate it if you could leave me a 5-star review to help me get the word out about the show. And if at any point you have questions or topics you want me to riff about, as you can see, I like to talk, then I invite you to get on my social media platforms and just message me. And if you're feeling the nudge to work with me, then check out my offerings on my website. Everything you need to connect with me is in the show notes. So until next time, be empowered.